And you are now behind enemy lines. Hey there, how you doing, America? Gene Baradelli here, apparently with a cracking voice at this point. I'm tired. It's been a long week, but we're here to talk some politics with my best bud, Ross Galloway. Brother, how you doing? You might have to take over a lot of the show tonight.
Gene, you know that's impossible. You are the anchor.
I push the buttons that make the world turn. Yes. So while we're waiting for people to roll in, and I see that they're starting to already, all's well that ends well with Gene's car. The saga is just about over. Last we left off, Gene's rental car had broken down on the street, and I waited 4 hours to get a tow. I had to call my own tow truck for somebody else's car. And long story short, the rental company did right by me, and they gave me an upgrade to another rental car. So now I'm styling in a brand new Dodge Charger, cherry red. This thing's obnoxious, pal. It's absolutely nuts.
What do you do with a Charger?
I don't even know. Look at this. Does this look like muscle car to you?
Although I remember in the late 80s, you had a General Lee Challenger in your driveway. And
in the late 80s, I was 11. It was a Hot Wheels. You son of a bitch. Listen, we got a great show lined up. We're going to be talking about a lot of things. And while everybody's rolling in, and then we see some people in the chat. Hey there, Christy. How you doing? Everybody, please smash that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It helps the show grow. We're going to need your help to do that. I want to get this show out there to everybody, so help us do that. You want to get into things already? I guess we should start talking some politics here. We're going to start talking about what everybody else is talking about, and that is this second attempt at Donald Trump by an assassin. Now, this time around, Ross, as we all know, there was a gentleman in what seems to be like a sniper's nest outside or around Trump's golf course in West Palm, and Secret Service fortunately spotted him. They didn't really do a sweep, but they spotted him. They ended up shooting at him. I think they shot him once, but he got away, and they ended up catching him on the side of the road somewhere. What the hell's going on here?
It's sad, Gene, because I don't even know what to believe anymore. You know what I mean? If the story that we've been told so far is true, then it's almost unbelievable. Like, I know we're going to talk about, like, how did he get there? And, you know, why weren't they watching this guy before? He was on the FBI's radar.
Right.
But a Secret Service agent saw the muzzle of a rifle sticking through a bush and a fence and took a shot at the guy. And some woman took a picture of the guy's car, and they were able to track it down. Like,
yes, and thank God
I just feel bad that
more investigating than any guy did.
Yeah, and I guess where I was going with this, Gene, is I don't even know what to believe anymore. I have lost all faith in the media and the government. I am open to any conspiracy theories on any of this stuff right now, to be honest.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm not ready to put the tinfoil hat on just yet. Oh my goodness. Christy got us our first super chat donating to the show. Wow, thank you so much for getting us started with that. That is really freaking cool. We popped the super chat cherry, Ross.
All right, well, go put that towards your Dodge Challenger or Charger.
Yeah, and we're just gonna put this up because again, she's beard shaming me, but whatever. I'll take it if you're paying me and you're gonna beard shame me. I'm not below taking that money. So thank you, Christy, of course, for the super chat. We really appreciate that. That was very sweet of you. Let's get into, I guess, the latest that we know about here. I found the clip from Fox News featuring former Navy SEAL and security expert Jonathan Gilliam discussing what he knows and what he can extrapolate and what he can glean from his own professional knowledge base about what happened with this assassination attempt part 2. So let's go to this right now.
Entire course is blocked by greenery if you're on a public road. So how did this guy know that he would have a line of sight to the president?
Because I believe he did surveillance. I believe he had somebody telling him or some way to find out what Trump's movement was. When you look at this map right here that you were just talking about, it is surrounded by roads that go right around it, and you step off the road onto the sidewalk, and straight into the trees, and there's a fence right there. He picked a location, had time to set up, tie up, and fix ballistic plates to the fence along with a supply bag, a GoPro, and set himself up for the shot. That takes, I mean, if he just ran up there and did it, it would take at least 5 minutes to do that. But he also staged his vehicle so he could get away. So all that occurred in the perimeter in a location where Trump was going to be. And just like in Pennsylvania, it was not discovered. The perimeter was not secured, and this individual was able to go simply just get out of his car and walk over there. Now, whether
That's mind-boggling, isn't it? We've been talking about this first attempt and how Secret Service didn't properly establish the perimeter, didn't extend it out far enough, didn't have snipers facing the right direction. It seems like the same mistakes happened here, and they somehow got bailed out because of somebody being observant. It's crazy.
Yeah. And he said, like, he believes it was probably that he was probably surveilling the area. Was he? Was it surveillance or intelligence, right? That was an off the record, off the schedule golf outing. So what was he surveilling? Was he there every day for the last 6 months working out a pattern analysis on when Trump golfs and at what time he would be at each hole and where the line of sights lined up? Was that what he was doing? And he was undetected for that long doing surveillance? Or was he tipped off? And if he was tipped off, by who?
I got one better. Who else may have been helping him? Is this sound like a one-man task to you to do all this surveillance, to establish locations like this and, set up getaway routes and all this stuff? Is there a possibility that there's somebody else involved in this and we haven't found out yet? That's what I'm scared about.
Yeah. And is there a possibility that there wasn't only the shots fired by the Secret Service, that he actually got off another shot? Right? There's no telling what the truth is. This is why Governor DeSantis said that Florida will run a parallel investigation to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah,
right?
and
no one
honestly,
trusts the federal agencies. No one. How many times do these things happen? And we.
Well, I just asked, how can you?
How many times do these things happen,
right
Gene? And then the FBI says, "Well, he was on our radar."
Yeah, that's great. Just like, school shooters are on the radar, but nothing is ever done. There is a serious lack of confidence right now in the government in general, but government in crisis is what we're seeing right now. Is it the case, I guess, that the Secret Service has just gotten too relaxed because nothing has happened for so long? Or, I hate saying this, but could it be that there is something else afoot here? I don't want to put the tinfoil hat on. I really, really don't. But I can certainly envision a scenario that, while I firmly believe that you don't go to malice what you can explain with incompetence, but man, this is beyond incompetence. This is recklessness and almost willfulness.
Yeah, and I mean the Secret Service, Gene, that I'm not going to say they're all bad, right? They're the last line of defense. By the time these plots manifest themselves into action, the Secret Service is the last line of defense. But where the hell is the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security? Where are these guys? I'll tell you where they are. They're rounding up grandmothers from fucking January 6th. They're going to school board meetings. They're investigating Trump for the last few years, right? Where's the did they let Epstein, Clinton, Biden? They let all those guys go. They're investigating Republicans. They're not looking out for these threats. Everybody's on their fucking radar, but they never stop a damn thing. And now the Secret Service has to catch it while it's in the act.
And the other thing that they're doing is they're playing hide the ball with the investigation from the first attempt on Donald Trump's life, to the point where they've unified Republicans and Democrats in the Senate. They have bipartisan support now to start executing subpoenas upon the Secret Service and the Department of Homeland Security. Even Dick Blumenthal, one of the leftiest of the left in the Senate, is getting fed up with the Biden administration's Department of Homeland Security and Secret Service. That's something I never thought I'd see in my day.
No, and that makes me more suspicious because I'm just that way, I guess. He must have an ulterior motive, but he might be right on this one. Like there's something wrong, right? He said, I'm going to paraphrase him, but the American people are going to be shocked when they find out the number of failures involved within the Secret Service on that first attempt.
Oh, it's a calamity of errors that we've seen from previous shows that we've done. Let's let Jonathan Gilliam continue on here. See if we can glean anything else from this interview.
Whether or not he staged it earlier, we don't know. But the reality is he was able to set up a shooter's hide and prepare himself for the shot and let the president get within max effective range of that SKS, which is a Russian AK-47. And he could have, if that Secret Service had not had seen him and the president got a little bit closer, he could have taken the president out yesterday.
Yeah, and Jonathan, how do you feel about, what are your thoughts on the suspected gunman? He even spoke to the New York Times recently, and apparently he was on this personal mission to form an army of his own to defend Ukraine, and he even traveled to Kyiv to do just that. And the Washington Post is also reporting that he wrote a book last year, and he alluded to the fact that he supported Donald Trump in one of the elections, but regrets it. And there's even one line in this apparent book. He says, "You are free to assassinate Trump as well as me for that error in judgment."
Yeah, and that was a portion of his book that was directed right towards Iran, the Iranian government. Obviously, this guy is freaky Lou wackadoo, but how is it that someone who is trying to assemble his own army, who is looking to go overseas to fight for another nation, has all of these not resources necessary, but all of these aspirations? How is this person not on the government's radar when he's doing all that crazy shit?
Yeah.
Speaking of crazy shit, hey, Rick Robinson, how you doing, pal? We see you.
I hate to tell you, like, this guy was definitely on the Fed's radar. Because not only was he involved with Iran and trying to recruit people out of Afghanistan to fight in Ukraine, his crazy ass was in Ukraine. And a nurse there reported him to federal authorities because she deemed him to be dangerous to himself or others, right? He was 100% on the Fed's radar. How does a guy who was making very little money, last time I heard his bank account was like $68 when he went over to Ukraine. How is that guy not being sponsored by someone? And how is the federal government not tracking that guy? They were 100%.
I don't see how they were not at this point. Obviously, there'll be an investigation. Truth will most likely be hidden, in my opinion anyway, and only give us drips and drabs of fact. But more importantly, a Russian-style gun, which is quite interesting as well to me. He went overseas to Ukraine. I would think he would have access to those sorts of weapons there. How did it get here?
With a scratched off serial number, right?
Right. I think there was reports that it was a legal gun purchase and that the serial number was scratched off, indicating that, of course, he had nefarious intent and malicious intent for using that weapon.
Gene, who has the most to lose if Donald Trump is elected? After all the things Donald Trump has been saying.
Oh, anyone associated with the left, but certainly Russia, Ukraine, and that whole situation.
Russia, Ukraine, and the deep state in this country that prop up these forever wars, right? So, what's that saying where the simplest solution is probably the truest? Listen, man, the left is trying to kill Donald Trump. And by the left, I throw in the media, who might have leaked Trump's whereabouts. I throw in the deep state, the Democratic Party, and foreign actors. All these people are trying to kill Donald Trump. They have something to fear from the man. These people that are the patsies, if you will, are not trying to do the right thing for their countries, right? They're idiots who have been brainwashed or MK Ultra'd to go and try to kill President Trump on behalf of something much larger. Prove me wrong, government. My government that I don't trust anymore. Prove me wrong.
So what are your thoughts on the potential political motivation here behind all of this?
You know, I think the left, and I say this with all sincerity, I believe the left is a national security threat to this country. I mean, you look at everything that they do, whether it is destroying the children's minds in the education system with this gender grooming, whether it's killing the southern border and allowing whoever wants to come over and get handouts from the government, propping up and promoting violence against conservatives. Let's just look in the past few years. The congressional baseball game where Scalise was shot. That individual was a leftist, Bernie Sanders supporter, shot a congressman with the same type of rifle, an SKS. I find that strange.
That is an interesting coincidence. I'm going to let him go on, but I didn't know that.
You have the shooter in Pennsylvania. We don't know what his politics were because we haven't found anything from the FBI, that we haven't been told anything. He was able to use an AR-15 and get within 130 yards of the president, former president. And then we have this individual using the same type of gun as the individual who shot up the congressional baseball game, gets within 400 yards. So, and all of these individuals, as far as we can tell, at least two of them are far left individuals. Many of the school shooters that have killed numerous children in schools have been transgender, which means they've been confused by the left's grooming policies in schools. There is a major issue here that everybody is missing because they're trying to be politically correct, and that is the fact that the left is a national security threat, that these types of actions that are being taken are not just being taken because this guy doesn't like Trump. It's the basis in which he doesn't like Trump.
Is there validity to the fact that the left has become a national security risk? What are your thoughts on that? And I'll give you mine up front. I think the answer is absolutely, and I agree with what Jonathan Gilliam was saying.
Yeah, Gene, it's 100%. It's clear as day, right? What does Biden and the left constantly say about the right? That we're dangerous, we're extremists, we're a threat to democracy. We tried to overthrow the government. White nationalism is the greatest threat. White supremacy is the greatest threat to this country. If any of that was even close to being true, our dear leader, Donald Trump, they tried to kill him twice now that we know of, right? Wouldn't we be armed to the teeth in the streets fighting back, right? It's bullshit. The left-wing militia manifested by BLM and there were waves before that, Occupy Wall Street, they've progressively gotten more intense, right? To the point where they're trying to kill the leader of the Republican Party.
Yeah, the incrementalism of the left is not just in policy positions. It's also been in ratcheting up the temperature of the rhetoric in our political sphere. And you gave me a perfect lead-in to go back right to the White House and the press room with Karine Jean-Pierre. Peter Doocy from Fox News asked this question. You put me onto this clip, Ross. Let's look at it and let's talk about this reaction to Peter Doocy's question.
Since somebody allegedly tried to kill Donald Trump again, and you're here at the podium in the White House briefing room calling him a threat. How many more assassination attempts on Donald Trump until the president and the vice president and you pick a different word to describe Trump other than threat?
That's the question, isn't it? Even throughout this second attempt, we see that the left has not toned down anything. In fact, you'll see later on, they're telling Donald Trump to tone things down. They're saying for him to be the leader, to be the bigger person in the room, to be a uniter. Yet the left is taking zero responsibility for their role in this violent rhetoric ratcheting up.
And wait till you see her response, Gene. She's stunned for like 5 seconds right now, right after you put it back on.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Peter, if anything from this administration, I actually completely disagree with the premise of your question, the question that you're asking. It is also incredibly dangerous in the way that you're asking it.
Hold on a goddamn minute. Asking questions is dangerous, but labeling and branding your political adversary as a threat to democracy, that's okay. That's all. That's cool. How dare you even ask me about my rhetoric? What the hell is that all about?
Yeah, Gene, it's insanity. right? You know my stance on this, by the way. I'm not a big believer in rhetoric leading directly to violence. Like, I don't believe that.
Yeah, I got it.
I do believe that this guy is crazy, or it was a plot of some type, right? Because there are people that hate Donald Trump. I don't believe that these people were just watching television and heard some people say some things and went out there and tried to kill Trump, right? I don't believe that. But it's people like her, and when you see the rest of this clip, it's people like them on the left. They keep saying that language and rhetoric leads directly to violence, yet they're the ones that keep using the language and rhetoric that, according to them, is leading to violence. And the violence is only going in one direction, against us, against Donald Trump. That is it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the hypocrisy of this is almost overwhelming. The audacity of this is overwhelming. A couple months back, we did a video on the channel showing all the clips of all the violent rhetoric coming from prominent people on the left. We've had people, talk about that they want to see, Donald Trump get a lead injection, take him out, threat to democracy, all that extreme rhetoric out there. And while I tend to agree with you that rhetoric only takes you so far, it takes a real crazy person acting on it to really be responsible for something like this. This is the game that the left has set up. So I'm playing it. I'm going to be better at them in playing this than they are, because when they break their own rules and expose their hypocrisy, that's what I live for. That's what I wrote a book about. That's what I got awards observing. I want to see the depth of Karine Jean-Pierre's hypocrisy with the rest of this response.
Because American people are watching. And to say that from an administration who has consistently condemned political violence, from an administration where the president called the former president and was grateful that he was okay, from an administration who has called out January 6th, called out the attack of Paul Pelosi, called out and said we need to lower the temperature after the Butler incident. And now for you to make that kind of comment in your question, because your question involved a comment and a statement. And, it is, that is also incredibly dangerous.
Go straight to hell. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. You sanctimonious buffoon. I'm sorry, but that answer to me is pure political maneuvering. We expect this from this White House. But man, does that get me kind of crazy here. By the way, Ross, another friend coming into the chat, Ron saying, hey, what's up, Ron? Good to see you, pal. Good to hear from you. Glad you can join us as well. The audacity of this White House. Yes, they checked on Donald Trump to see if he was okay. They didn't apologize. If you remember that interview with 60 Minutes after the first attempt, Joe Biden actually tried to say that when he said, put a bullseye on Donald Trump, that he meant, just focus on him with the media. It didn't mean, I didn't say crosshairs, he said. It was nuts. I'm sorry, but they don't get a pass just because they're sanctimonious here.
Yeah, and Gene, there's no one rational out there that believes that this administration and their Department of Justice, led by the FBI and a fake special counsel, Jack Smith, is going to get to the bottom of any of these Trump assassinations, right? They're trying to put this man in jail for life over trumped up fake charges. And you believe that this administration is going to get to the bottom of these Trump assassinations and protect him with the Secret Service? They hold all the cards, right? Donald Trump's just a guy who gets Secret Service protection because he used to be the president, but he doesn't control the DOJ. He's not in the Department of Homeland Security. We have no push on any of this. We have barely a majority in the House of Representatives, which we suck in, right? We don't have the Senate. So what are we going to do? And does anyone believe that our Department of Justice can get to the bottom of any of this with this White House leading the way? No. Right? They just accused Peter Doocy of being dangerous for asking a question.
Well, I mean, that kind of goes along with what we saw with Gavin Newsom passing a law in California about memeing and parody and all that stuff. That's a topic for another show, but I do want to get to some more reaction from the left to this second assassination attempt. And we see the sanctimony of the White House in response to Peter Doocy's question. Now they're coming out of the woodwork. Hillary Clinton's got a fourth memoir or something like that she's grifting on right now, doing all the media, doing all the book tours and all the nonsense that comes along with it. And while I'll never begrudge a fellow author about selling a book, the way she's going about doing it by using this second assassination attempt to act all sanctimonious herself is particularly disgusting. The first clip we're going to look at it's actually a two-part clip here. Hillary Clinton on her book tour actually doing a Q&A with Katie Couric. You may have seen it on Tuesday's show. And then cutting to an appearance on MSDNC with Rachel Madcow talking about how the media should really be focusing on Trump and him being a danger to democracy and him being vicious as well. So let's go to that right here. Here we go.
This is what Donald Trump tweeted this afternoon. Quote, "The rhetoric lies as exemplified by the false statements made by Comrade Kamala Harris during the rigged and highly partisan ABC debate and all of the ridiculous lawsuits specifically designed to inflict damage on Joe's, then Kamala's, political opponent, me, has taken politics in our country to a whole new level of hatred, abuse, and distrust. Because of this communist left rhetoric, the bullets are flying, and it will only get worse, exclamation point. Allowing millions of people from places unknown to invade and take over our country is an unpardonable sin." End quote. I imagine you have a lot to say about that.
Well, before she says anything else, because, my God, she's the worst. Just want to give a shout out to everybody on KLRN Radio's feed checking us out right now. Hey, gang, how you doing? Good to see you. Back to Hillary Clinton for the moment.
Well, it is so regrettable that the former president would take what is a genuinely terrible event of someone stalking a former president and current candidate and turn it into, as he did with that tweet that you just read, a political attack on his opposition and literally everybody else who does not support him. And it really does, Katie, come down once again to everything that he talks about is about himself.
Let's call bullshit right now, Ross. You know as well as I do that one of the main takeaways from Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals is to never let a crisis, a tragedy, never let it go to waste. Hillary Clinton just called out Donald Trump for pulling a page out of a book that she's used for decades. We've talked about hypocrisy with Karine Jean-Pierre. This is the height of hypocrisy. Hillary Clinton thinking she has the high ground on someone? Give me a break.
First of all, it's hard to take Hillary serious when she's aging so poorly. She looks like a more fat, less hoorish version of Madonna.
Oh, wait a minute. I can't co-sign that. We all get old and
all right,
I'm on my way.
She looks terrible. It's hard to take her serious.
I gotta make myself look good. Sorry. I'm the nice one.
How are these people? First of all, 2016, we said this a couple weeks ago. It's like, I feel like I'm in a time machine. Like, why are these people coming back? Why is Hillary Clinton relevant, right? She's out here blaming Trump for his own assassination attempts along with other characters from the left. It's just absurd. I don't even know why we're talking about her. I don't know why she's relevant. She's clearly grifting off of this. She wasn't chosen. She does not want Kamala to win. Let me just be clear about that. She does not want Kamala to win, right? She was going to be the first female president. She believes she did win that election, right? She's garbage, along with the rest of them.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right about questioning her relevance. This is her fourth memoir. Who the hell writes 4 memoirs? Did so much happen between Memoir 3 and Memoir 4 that you need to write a new one? It's clearly a grift, and she is being trotted out because she wants to remain relevant. She's trotting herself out. You don't see her on the stump for Kamala Harris. You don't see her at any of Kamala Harris's rallies or doing her own appearances as a surrogate for Kamala Harris. She's in it for herself. Kamala Harris doesn't want Hillary Clinton out there. The reminder of the failure of stopping Donald Trump in 2016, they don't want that on any stage. So she creates her own stages like this one with this book tour. Let's get back to her.
And he doesn't in any way try to reach out to people. He's not interested in representing all of America and all of Americans.
And you are.
This is just another really regrettable incident of that. And I do worry about political violence. I worry about threats. I worry about what's being said online.
Because she knows that she might be a potential target, and that's the only reason that she's worrying about it, in my opinion. Moving on.
About many, many people, not just the former president. And he should be doing, if he were really a leader, he should be doing what he can to calm the waters, not try to just continue to throw, red meat out there to get people riled up. And it is troubling to me, which is something that I think everybody should worry about.
Come on.
Gee.
Donald Trump should take it upon himself to stop his own assassins, apparently. And it's his own fault that he's in this position. It has nothing to do with her and everybody else calling him dangerous and vicious and all this other BS out there.
I have to disagree with something you said, Gene. You said, she's concerned because she's worried she might be a potential target herself. That's BS. She ain't scared that she's a target. First of all, the Clintons have had more friends, acquaintances, employees mysteriously die, and they're the most friends that have ever committed suicide under shady circumstances of anyone we know. For all we know, she might actually be behind one or two of these plots to kill Trump. I'm not putting it past her and her crew. I have a thought experiment, Gene, if you could play along for a second.
Of course. I'm all about thought experiments. Hit me with it.
Think about this visual I'm going to give you, and I want you to describe what you see. You're on the subway, and you see a man sitting across from you. He is reading one of Hillary Clinton's 4 memoirs on the train. What does that man look like?
So for those of you who may not have been to Williamsburg in a while, picture the quintessential hipster living off of mommy and daddy's money, living in the trendy area of Brooklyn because Manhattan is too pretentious for him or her, and horn-rimmed glasses, and I'm with her t-shirt that's been washed too many times that it's faded, and he's probably wearing a mask. And I would also say that he doesn't want anybody really sitting next to him, so he has his book bag on the seat next to him to make sure that nobody sits next to him. How'd I do?
You're spot on. Green hair, a latte, throw those in there too, a nose ring potentially under that mask. Yeah. All right, I just want to make sure we're on the same page there.
Oh, we're definitely on the same page. Here's the other clip from MSDNC I was telling you guys about. This is Hillary Clinton calling Donald Trump dangerous and vicious and a threat not even 48 hours after this gunman tried to unalive him.
Why it's so difficult for the press to have a consistent narrative about how dangerous Trump is.
It's all the press's fault. Why can't the press just get it right about Donald Trump? He's dangerous, he's vicious, he's all these things and more. He's the devil incarnate. It's the same line she's been using for the past, 9 years? 10 years? I don't even know.
Gene, you said he was the devil incarnate according to her? Let me tell you where I'm at nowadays.
Sure.
Donald Trump is the chosen one. God has saved him. I am now in the cult of Trump. Colt 45, baby. I'm all in. The man can do no wrong now. He can literally shoot somebody on the street of Fifth Avenue, and I will reload the gun for him. That is my boy. Colt 45, he is chosen by God. You want to make us radical? You fucking did it. We're in.
Billy D. Williams wept. And by the way, for the record, Colt 45 has a very bad aftertaste.
The late, great journalist, Harry Evans, one time said that, journalists should, really try to achieve objectivity. And by that, he said, I mean, they should cover the object. Well, the object in this case is Donald Trump, his demagoguery, his danger to our country and the world, and stick with it.
This, to me, 48 hours after the guy was almost unalived. Again, the man took a bullet to the head. I mean, people want to disparage it and all this other nonsense out there, but how does she sleep at night?
Yes, Gene, let me ask you another question here. What do you think the reaction from these very same people would be if people quasi-associated with the right within 2 months tried to kill Kamala Harris?
We'd never hear the end of it. Oh my goodness, we'd never hear. It would be 2 weeks wall-to-wall coverage about the person. God forbid that person be a certain race or have a certain political affiliation or be from a certain part of the country. We would never stop hearing about it.
The shoe on the other foot. You always have to do that thought experiment, right? Like, how would they be reacting if the shoe was on the other foot?
Absolutely, and clearly, the reaction would be a whole lot different, and the news would be streaming out from leaks, and we'd know this person's, astrological sign. We know what they had to eat the day of the event, and all the stuff that we would be accustomed to dealing with leftist media. Ross, I do want to say that we don't paint all Democrats or all leftists or all progressives with the same brush. Chris Cuomo, I actually talk about him a lot in my book. I'm going to do the plug right now. Schnooks, Crooks, Lies, and Scoundrels, a field guide to identifying political buffoons, available right now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other online bookstores. Check it out when you can. Chris Cuomo's on the cover. He's portrayed as Fredo. You see him, I believe it's right there. Saying, I'm smart. I'm not dumb like they say. I had a lot of bad things to say about Chris Cuomo in the book and how much of a hypocrite that he is. But I got to say, since he's left CNN, since he's become a pariah in Democrat circles, he seems to be burning a lot of bridges on the left and at the same time doing some soul searching here. You're going to totally disagree with me on this, and I'm going to love it. But let's let Chris Cuomo talk about how he's been internalizing what has happened to Donald Trump with this second attempt on his life.
So desperate to drag ourselves away from greatness, from progress, from each other. And that is what I see that really bothers me. And the reaction and the lack of reaction to the second attempt on Trump in the last couple of months. Oh, but the guy didn't even shoot. What if it was your father? Or what if it was Kamala Harris or President Biden?
Oh my goodness, he just did the Ross Galloway thought experiment. Look at that.
God forbid. You think that it would be almost a shoulder shrug and more of talk about the Secret Service and allocation of funds than just how crazy it is that this is what's happening in our country? That reaction of, well, come on, don't make too much of it. He had an AK-47 pointed at him. The reaction is unacceptable.
Thoughts so far?
Gene, he's a turd, all right?
I knew it. Here we go.
He contributed to what led to this, right? Trump said that at one of his speeches the other day, that it's the things that they're saying about him that's probably causing this, right? And again, I don't necessarily believe that, but this guy, if he does believe it, contributed to it. He was all for impeachment hoax 1, impeachment hoax 2. He was all for the Russian dossier or the Steele dossier with Trump peeing in front of prostitutes in a Russian hotel. He was all for calling January 6th an insurrection and Donald Trump tried to overthrow democracy and that he was a threat to democracy, right? This guy was all for me losing my job because I didn't want to take a vaccine and for all of us to be locked down in our houses. Meanwhile, he violated those very lockdowns out on Long Island, right? He's a piece of garbage, this guy. He might be able to say 1 or 2 things now on News Nation, which like 4 people watch, and you're one of them, I guess. But I'm not buying it. Chris Cuomo's a turd.
I have to watch these things because nobody else is going to. I have to report on these things because nobody else is going to. I think what you're referring to, and tell me if you agree with this or not, Chris Cuomo lost his insider access card when he was helping out his brother, who I despise, by the way, if you've seen recent videos, helping out his brother to enact his COVID scheme and cover-up concerning what was going on in nursing homes and the like that we talk about in other videos. I think he has a guilty conscience. I think the man may actually have a soul, but I think also you cannot discount what you were saying. He was complicit in many different things as part of that insiders club when he was on a bigger national network and he had access to everybody and he had sources with everybody. And he was getting paid handsomely for his services and for his insider information and all that. Now that he's on the outs, it seems like he feels unchained and he can be unfiltered and give what he wants us to believe is his own opinion. And I half believe that. But as you said, I cannot discount the transgressions of the past that are all over this thing right here. I can't do it.
Yeah, and you could play like the Christian card to forgive and all that stuff, right? Yeah, I can forgive Chris Cuomo for a lot of the BS he did, but what I can't do is like ever support him having a platform on television again, right? The guy is a propagandist. He's with the things, there's certain things, a doctor makes a horrific mistake and he loses his license, right? You might be able to forgive the guy for making that mistake, or a pilot being drunk on a plane and he, loses the ability to fly airplanes. But you don't forgive him to the point where you're like, all right, fuck it, let him fly again, right? This guy needs to be grounded. I don't care what he says now. He can say it in his living room with his family, and they might forgive him. And, as long as I never see him again, it doesn't bother me. But, I'm never going to support this guy to be on TV or give him the benefit of the doubt. He's a piece of garbage.
Okay, well, this is also coming from the guy whom I remember having a sign on his lawn saying all Biden voters must repent.
All Democrats must repent.
Well, there you go. So
but
now
that doesn't mean that hold on now. That doesn't mean that if you repent, I think you should be the president of the United States.
No, I got that, but I wanted to follow that up with a question. I want to know what someone like a Chris Cuomo would have to do in order to show that he is genuinely repentant about his past.
I guess you missed the point. He can be genuinely repentant, but he can't be back on TV. You don't let the pilot who flew drunk fly again. That's it. Like, yeah, man, we forgive you. You serve your time. You're out of jail. Be a productive member of society again. But we're not going to put you back in the cockpit, dude. Like, you lost that privilege.
Okay, fair enough. I hear that.
You can't be that wrong, right? He couldn't have been that wrong. There's a clip that goes around all the time with him and Don Lemon, who's also was a CNN flunky that got thrown out of there, right? And I see him back on there once in a while again. But where Don Lemon and him are doing like the show changeover, Don Lemon says, yeah, the greatest threat in our country are white males. Really? That's the greatest threat to the United States was white males. And what did Chris Cuomo say? Not a goddamn thing, right? Fuck Chris Cuomo, man.
And that's it. Listen, hey, we're at halftime here on the show. I want to thank everybody for tuning into Behind Enemy Lines, wherever you are, whether it be on X, whether it be on the Twitters, whether it be on the YouTubes. I'm just glad you're here hanging out with us, talking a little bit of politics. If you're on the YouTubes, feel free to get us in the chat. I will be checking X and Rumble periodically during the show. And while we got you here and you want to support the show in other ways other than smashing that thumbs up button, liking, commenting, and sharing all that good stuff, check out some of the merch options we have at shop.buffoonoftheweek.com. We've got a whole bunch of t-shirts there. We'll be coming out with a whole bunch of other items as well. The book is going to be up there very soon. I'm talking to Teespring to get that up now. And I hope you guys support the show any way you can. We're certainly glad you're here. Even Ross is kind of glad you're here. So we thank you guys for tuning in. Let's talk about some other news going around. Topic that you wanted to bring up, and I think it's worth doing. We still don't have we're still looking at a government shutdown. We're still looking down the barrel of a government shutdown. Ross, do you think that's a good thing?
I do. The way the Republicans are handling it right now is disastrous, as usual. But government shutdowns are a good thing. They're not supposed to do continuing resolutions, right? Continuing resolutions are when we just agree to extend the budget out at the same spending levels as it was last year at current spending rates. Okay, that should be like the nuclear option. For some reason, Congress didn't get a chance to make a budget for next year again, right? And they haven't done one in many, many years. They barely ever do it. Yet, throughout the past years, when the Republicans have had the chairmanships in the House of Representatives, and even in the Senate, which we don't control, there's hearing after hearing after hearing about different government agencies that are corrupt, that are inept, that are wasting money, that are doing quasi-illegal things, that are prosecuting Donald Trump. The government is basically rogue. And for our government, our House of Representatives, the Republicans, to not create a budget that will defund some of those or address some of those concerns is crazy to me, right?
It's certainly crazy in the sense that when we started out this term of Congress, there was a deal in place that Matt Gaetz spearheaded with Kevin McCarthy, the former speaker, saying that there would be no more continuing resolutions, that the Congress would pass a budget. And then when McCarthy didn't follow through on that promise, that's when Gaetz and his people decided to submit a motion to vacate the chair. And here we are now with Mike Johnson as speaker after a couple of weeks of chaos in the House. And by the way, chaos to me is a good thing. I don't think governing should be easy. I don't think that governing should be glad-handing and routine for these people. I think that it should be a struggle to govern. I think you have to listen to minority viewpoints, especially within your own party. So when Mike Johnson came around, we thought we would get a budget, but we didn't get that. And while I guess Gaetz and his people are refraining from using that same gambit again, Johnson tried his own gambit with tying the SAVE Act to a continuing resolution, and his own party failed to go along with that. In fact, 14 members of the Republican Party who had voted for the SAVE Act when it was a standalone bill, they voted against the combo bill that Mike Johnson was putting forth. Ross, what do you think about that?
Yeah, and this is where guys like Thomas Massie, who a lot of guys on our side love, right? The guy speaks well, and he's down to earth, and he knows about the Constitution. Yeah, that's all fine and well, but he's an idiot. Thomas Massie and the other 13 are idiots. This continuing resolution, you don't have much leverage. You have a very slim majority in the House, and you don't control the Senate or the White House, right? Nobody wants the government to shut down. Okay, cool. We have a slim majority in the House. We're going to attach something that should not be controversial. Every article I've read on this refers to the SAVE Act as a controversial measure. The SAVE Act says that before you register to vote, you must prove that you are a citizen, right? What's controversial about that? Nothing, right? And those with no leverage, without a majority, you should be able to attach that to a continuing resolution. If you want to spend the same obscene levels that this administration has been spending at with no cuts, then you're going to throw a bone to the American people. I'm not even going to say the Republican Party, the American people, and ensure that going into a presidential election, which it's already too late, right? Lots of illegal immigrants already registered to vote. Oh, hardly any of them ever do. It's already illegal. Okay, hardly any of them ever do. Well, out of the 21 million illegals in the country, how many are hardly any ever do? Whatever that number is, Gene, the swing states are decided by thousands of votes. In some cases, it might even be hundreds of votes, right? It doesn't matter how many of them are. There should be zero. This should not be controversial. Hey. Those 14 Republicans are scumbags.
Listen,
and that's what the party's done, by the way, Gene. That's why the Republican Party is done. After Donald Trump, are you a Republican? Are you going out there for a Republican candidate? What does the Republican Party deliver on? Nothing.
You're absolutely right. And we know from personal experience working on campaigns in the People's Republic of New York that sometimes a bag full of votes decides it. Let's get to this story from ABC News right now. I'm going to pull this up and make sure that everybody can see it on the screen okay. Yeah, it looks good to me. ABC News. House votes down Speaker Johnson's funding plan as shutdown deadline approaches. It sounds very ominous, doesn't it? The House on Wednesday, hey, that's today, voted down Speaker Mike Johnson's government funding plan, with 14 Republicans voting against it and 2 others voting present. The measure failed by, it looks like, about 22 votes. Johnson said after the vote that he was disappointed that it didn't pass, but suggested there would be a solution to avoid a shutdown. Quote, and this is from Johnson, "We ran the play. It was the best play. It was the right one. So now we go back to the playbook. We'll draw up another play, and we'll come up with a solution. I'm already talking to colleagues about their many ideas. We have time to fix the situation, and we'll get right to it." Ross, does a shutdown hurt Trump in the long run?
Gene, every time there is talk of a shutdown, the Republicans get blamed. It doesn't matter if we're in the majority. It doesn't matter if we're in the minority. If the Democrats were in this situation and they attached a rider to this bill and the Republicans refused to go along with it and it didn't pass, they would blame the Republicans for shutting down the government, right? This was an opportunity. No one with a sane mind disagrees with the SAVE Act. No one, right? Ram it down their throats, make them take a position and campaign on it for the next 2 months. Shut the government down. It's not bad.
It certainly brings the government's actions into sharp focus. Some Republicans in Johnson's caucus opposed the measure because they said it would contribute to the deficit, while defense hawks said they won't vote for it because the 6-month extension would affect the Department of Defense's readiness. That's an interesting consideration. It seems like there's more than one fracture in the Republican Party. We like to talk about big tent parties. You have, fiscal conservatives. We have hawks in the party. We have certainly establishment types in the party. We have Trump populists and MAGA Republicans and all of this. At some point, it's like herding cats. So I got to wonder, what is it going to take for everyone to line up behind such a favorable bill like the SAFE Act in order to get that passed? Who would be against Americans showing ID in order to register to vote? I don't get it. What do Republicans have to do to all get in line together? I mean, do they gotta draw blood within your own party before you look out for the people? I don't get it.
Well, Gene, you mentioned a bunch of different factions, and maybe some of that has some truth to it, but it's all BS, right? Which Republicans are saying that it might contribute to the deficit? This continuing resolution contributes to the deficit. It's all deficit spending. We're trillions of dollars a year in deficit spending that contributes to the national debt. So that's a bogus excuse. DOD funding, okay, do a standalone DOD funding. You should have done that to begin with. That's your job. Do the standalone bills to fund our government. What the hell are they doing throughout the year? I watched these hearings after hearings, the Hunter Biden hearings. Yeah, some of them were good and they were entertaining and maybe even needed, right? But do your fucking job. Fund the government. Have that debate. Make the sausage, right? But they're not doing it. And when it comes crunch time, 14 Republicans defect and give BS excuses like deficit spending. So I guess you vote no on every bill ever, right? Because every bill ever, while you were in Congress, contributed to deficit spending.
And by the way, I'm pulling up the list of these 14 Republicans right now. Let me see if I can pull that up. I agree with you. I don't understand why it wouldn't be easier to just band together and pass legislation and then put the pressure on the democratically controlled Senate to come to terms with things like the SAVE Act and things like that. Just get it through and get it done. Here's the list, Ross. I want your reaction to these names. Some of them we'll know, some of them we won't know. Let me hit the highlights first. Andy Biggs, Alabama. Lauren Boebert, Colorado. Elijah Crane, Arizona. Matt Gaetz, Florida. Wesley Hunt, Texas. Nancy Mace, South Carolina. It's that same wing of the party that held up the Republican speaker with Kevin McCarthy that voted against this. It seems like this opposition to establishment Republicans has grown beyond what we saw during the last speaker's race.
Yeah, a lot of those names, Gene, are just holding grudges, right? Matt Gaetz, I like him. Nancy Mace, not so much. She's all right. Biggs, all right. A lot of these guys are just holding grudges. They didn't like the way McCarthy thing went down and how the new speaker was selected. I get it. But this is your chance right here to honestly affect in the right way the election that's coming. This SAVE Act should have been passed years ago, right? But and by the way, I just want to touch on this real quick, Gene, because the left says this, and some of these idiot Republicans agree with it too. Well, it's already illegal for illegal immigrants to vote in our elections. Okay, so then what are you worried about? Let's pass this law. Isn't it already illegal to lynch someone or to commit a hate crime or for someone under 21 to buy beer? I still have to show my ID when I buy beer, right? But it's already illegal for me to buy beer if I'm under 21. So why do I have to show ID? Right? None of these excuses make sense. It's all BS. So pass the bill.
Yeah. Thomas Massey took to X saying, quote, and I'm going to put this up on the screen during the replay, your bill does not responsibly fund government. It's 12 bills rolled into one bill that continues to profligate spending that's ruining our country. The fact that you've added the 13th bill to it, being the SAVE Act, does not make it a serious solution. Please quit insulting our constituents. Marjorie Taylor Greene also ripped the CR in a post on X, saying that the bill, quote, is classic bait and switch that will enrage the base only 1 month before the election when they find out that they've been tricked and let down again. It seems like this is another purity test.
But it's a fake one. It's fake, Gene.
Yeah.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, another one. I love her when she says crazy things, but she's too crazy, right? They're holding grudges. It doesn't make sense. Gene, if this was just a CR to fund the government, right, and they ran it out for a whole year, I would be with nothing else attached. I'm against it, right? I don't think a CR should go for a whole year. Keep the government open for 3 months, 6 months at most. Figure out how to fund the government for a year with true debate, maybe the new president, a new Congress in office, but figure out how to do your job, right? But in a case where the Democrats got themselves in a position, and the Republicans too, where we have to do a CR, right? Or the government will be shut down. What are we just going to keep the government shut down for a year? If you have to do a temporary funding through a continuing resolution for 3 or 6 months, then with whatever little leverage you have, get something you want, right? Something we want is to clean up elections, right? We could have put something in there crazy, like we're just going to ban all abortions, right? That would be crazy. This is not crazy. But the Republicans, so you're telling me they're not going to vote for any continuing resolution, those 14 people? None. No matter what.
I understand being principled. I understand being principled. I understand, answering to your constituency, but do you think, and this is something I always think is ridiculous, when someone says, I got to take this back to my constituency. Do you think the constituency is so politically savvy that they know exactly what the issue is with your vote on this continuing resolution and what is in it? Have you gone back to explain to them what's in it? Have you gone back to say anything? Or are you just making a decision for them, saying this is bad and here's why I think it's bad, and thinking, well, I can always get reelected because I'm in a favorable district like Marjorie Taylor Greene is in Georgia, and then say, well, they'll just go along with what I'm saying here. I think there's a lot of false representations being done by people who put out these purity tests.
Yeah, not only, Gene, they can't go back to their districts and explain it because their districts would want this passed with the SAVE Act on a temporary measure, not a year's continuing resolution, a shorter version. What they're going to do, Gene, and mark my words on this, if the government does shut down, and I'm all in favor of that too, but it's not going to, right? Because they'll get a clean CR, which every Democrat will vote for, and then enough Republicans will vote for it too. And they're going to get the CR without the SAVE Act. And then you know what? If the government did get shut down, these same idiot 14 Republicans can go back to their districts and say Speaker Johnson was the cause of the government getting shut down, right? I'm not a huge Johnson fan, but I know it's not funny. I'm not a huge Speaker Johnson fan, but they're going to blame him. He's in a no-win situation with these 14 maniacs.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm checking in on the KLRN chat. I got to take my glasses off for a second. Raptor in this, giving us shout-outs in there. I appreciate it. He says, shut it down, just like Ross Galloway does. Appreciate all the feedback from our friends on the Twitters. If you're in the chat room on YouTube, feel free to talk to us wherever you are. Like, comment, share the show with your friends. All the really, really good stuff that's going on and around the interwebs today. It's time for final thoughts, my friend. And do we want to flip a coin on this one and see who goes first? Did I go first last time, or did you go first last? I don't even remember. I don't even remember this morning, for God's sakes.
I think you ended it with 9/11 last time.
You're right. Okay, there you go. So I guess I'm going first. I've been trying to stay away from active politics for a good long while now. I kind of dropped out of institutional politics when I moved out of Brooklyn, New York, and moved out to Long Island. In Brooklyn, I was the law chairman of the Brooklyn Republican Party, was proud to serve in that role, did so for a couple of years. But ever since right around when Trump got elected, I decided to get out of institutional politics because it's dirty as hell. And I've been coming and going as I please, doing what I want. Well, last week I made a video about Andrew Cuomo and his treatment of families of those who lost relatives in nursing homes during the pandemic, how he's unrepentant, unapologetic, even though there have been pages upon pages of reports both at the federal level and the state level letting people know that Andrew Cuomo took certain acts and omissions to act that resulted in exposure to COVID before there was any vaccine, before there was any treatment, to the most vulnerable in our communities, our elders, our parents, those of us who are older. Well, I think now that Andrew Cuomo is going on his rehabilitation tour, which has been going on since last October, and because people are starting to whisper louder and louder about a possible Andrew Cuomo run for mayor of the People's Republic of New York City, especially in light of Eric Adams's federal investigations and scandals with his police commissioner, with his chancellor, who's running the city government right now and all that, I think I need to get back in the fight. I think I need to find a way back into the fight. Now, granted, I'm living on Long Island and I'm not a constituent in New York City anymore, but I have many friends who remain in New York City. God help them. And I think it might be time to come back. Yeah. What do I mean by that? I don't know just yet, but it's going to be some discussions going on with a lot of people that I know, some that owe me favors, some I owe favors to. And we might be talking about something different going forward, for me at least personally, when it comes to this show, which, by the way, is not going anywhere. But there's going to be something added to this. Maybe a little bit of a stump that I'm going to turn this show into every now and then. Stay tuned, everyone. Ross, what do you got?
God help us. Hillary Clinton's back.
By the way, before we get to Ross, I talked to him before we do the show. We were doing our show prep. I said to Ross, it's sort of the comment that we've always made to each other whenever we have a plan about what we want to do in politics. We always go to each other and say, hey, you down for a caper? And for the first time in, what was it, 9 years? No, 8 years. 8 years. First time in about 8 years, I uttered those words again. So you know shit's about to get real.
Jesus Christ, Gene. I was going to say Hillary Clinton's back, Beetlejuice is back, and Gene is back. What the hell is going on in this world?
Maybe Ross Galloway could be back along with this too.
Man. Maybe. All right, let me I'm a quick one today. First of all, I just want to say J.D. Vance, I was on the fence when Trump selected him as a running mate. The guy's phenomenal. Junior senator. He was great there for the short time he was there. But if you watch his speeches, he's a great public speaker, and he's a master with the media, right? He destroys them. I wanted to touch on the debate between Kamala and Trump. I think it's actually aging pretty well. The more you go back and watch it, the more you could realize Trump won, right? She can't expand on anything she said at that debate because she has nothing else to say. Trump was in New York today. He's in Nassau County. He gave a great rally. I watched most of it, but I had to come up here and get ready. He said New York is in play, and he told the people in the crowd, what the hell do you have to lose? Vote for Donald Trump. You know, maybe New York is in play, man. They're trying to kill this guy. Maybe the internal polls are showing a different story than these fake polls up from the fake media. And then lastly, God, please protect Donald J. Trump, right? He is the chosen one in my view. And I'm not joking. I'm part of the cult. Cult 45 for life, baby.
All right. So that'll just about do it for us. I want to thank everybody who tuned in to the show, whether you were on KLM on the Twitters, whether you were on my Twitter, whether you were on Rumble, YouTube, wherever you were. Thank you so much for allowing us to come into your lives for a little over an hour this evening. We really appreciate you hanging out with us. Please, as I said so many times on the show, like and share the show with your friends, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell wherever you are so you don't miss any of the shows. If you're on KLRN.com watching this right now, I would really appreciate it if you head over to YouTube, head over to Rumble, Find the channel. It's called Buffoon of the Week. That's the name of the channel. Find the channel. Subscribe to the channel wherever it may be. If you're on YouTube, Rumble, doesn't matter to me. Do both. That's all good and well, too. But I thank you for letting us in. I hope you do the same next week. But for now, Mr. Galloway, who just put something into the chat that almost broke me. You ready to shut this sucker down here or what?
I think I'm already shut down. I put several comments in and I keep getting, censored. All right. Yeah. Shut down, Gene. YouTube is
That's not me. That's not me. That's the YouTubes. That's not me. I'm not doing it. Don't blame me. Everybody blames me for everything in politics. Don't blame me.
Unreal.
All right. We're shutting this sucker down. For my friend Ross Galloway, Gene Baradelli, behind enemy lines, we're shutting it down. So let's play my motherfucking anthem. Good night, folks.
Not allowed, not without electoral.
Go fuck yourself. Is that clear?
Teeth, don't let them have sway. Conservative battalions walking them out, marching through the streets while the buffoons all shout. Move in the shadows, flag on my chest, repping my clan, putting faith to the test. Cause we're plays blue behind enemy lines, fighting for the truth, feels like wartime. Don't back down, keep it rugged and raw, cool in the chaos, but loud in the war. But loud in the war. If I ever stand with a smirk and a gaze, holding down the fort in this Democrat cage. Whistles in the dark, strategies on fire.